Morning, Rhoda.
Morning.
We made it up this morning.
Pretty good. Had a big birthday yesterday. My sons
Yeah.
came in and that was nice.
Your birthday was yesterday.
Yeah.
Mine was the day before.
Oh, so happy birthday to us both.
I'm very happy to keep having birthdays.
Okay, I want to get everybody in the view. So how do you do that? Oh, there we go. Okay.
I have to admit them now. They have security
Have to.
process so that you have to
Right.
admit them. Keep
That's
people
right.
from just jumping in. So,
Yeah.
hey, good morning, Claire. Good morning,
Morning.
Alex.
Good morning.
John is on early.
Your office is open now, Claire.
It is. Technically, we've been open. We've had people working there all the way throughout. Our admin and then at least one or two of our accountants. Greg has been there. But we didn't allow visitors into the office. They had to stop at the foyer, exchange paperwork, that type of thing. So technically, we have been open per se because the office has been operational. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Like the bridge I brought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm impressed. It's tough working out of San Francisco.
Yeah, it's what, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, we're fortunate.
I needed a piece of tidbit, John, yesterday for a blog, and it was how many houses does the average buyer look at before choosing one?
Yeah. That was the topic.
She
No, I
needed
was
a
just
tidbit.
comparing it to blogs and how many people look at different sites before they buy.
Yeah. I would suspect the average is around 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, hey, before we get started, just a couple of administrative things. I did hear from Andrew, and so CBN is, I'm going to abide by the month at least for the next couple of months. So we'll have access to the full features of Zoom. One of the reasons you couldn't dial in on the phone was Zoom stopped free phone. They just had too much demand, so they did not continue free phone. Now that we have a paid subscription, you can dial in by phone. And so we will be, we're paid for Zoom through June 15th. I'm sorry, July 15th. Hopefully we get something done in terms of our meeting place before then. Hey, Marianne, how you doing? Good, good. Hey, I was just stating that I did hear from Andrew, and so we've got Zoom paid for the next 2 months, which would be take us through July 15th or so. So I would hope that at some point we find out what the status. Which brings me to number 2. Did you get an opportunity to contact the people at the restaurant? If
Yes.
not, we'll do it another time.
No, I did contact the people at the restaurant. They still do not have a plan for reopening yet. They're working on it. And she said that she has my email, was thrilled that I called and emailed her, and said that they will contact me as soon as they have a plan in place.
That's the best we can do. And we'll live by those rules.
A programming suggestion. I don't know whether it'll work, but today I'm going downtown to the bank to see Joe, who is officially a member of Regions of our group. And we could ask them to be a speaker for one of the upcoming meetings. I'm trying to encourage them to get back into the group, so that might be something, and they can talk about banking and all that. So I'll talk to them today, and then John, you can maybe set it up. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. If he says yes, I'll reach out and put him on the calendar.
All right, good.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. So, so I did want to make sure they took care of that administrative thing. We do need a speaker for next week or a topic for next week. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's a short week. So remember, unless you're special, I'm not working. Well, I'm not working that much anyway, but I'm specifically not working Monday, which is supposed to be a holiday. But I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know what time it is. I'm kind of lost. Oh, I had to read something that told me Monday was a holiday. That's the best I'm doing, people.
Right.
So that being
Well,
said, we
John,
now have as much. Go ahead, Marianne.
And happy Father's Day to all you fathers.
Yeah.
That's happening this
Yeah.
Sunday too.
I forgot.
Yeah. So the
I
other
forgot.
programming possibility, John, is Michael Joseph. He was scheduled to speak, and then for some reason it didn't work out.
Right. Of the carpet, Oriental carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joseph Oriental Import. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I'll
So
I can touch base with him and let him know what we're doing if he's interested in a Zoom opportunity.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Normal routine. Anybody got anything new? Any new business? Marianne.
I had a repeat client, and I did everything over internet. So developed a floor plan for them, but it was a repeat, so I knew their furniture, and I had pictures of it and a folder and a file, and so I was able to do everything over the internet for them. That was kind of interesting.
I have a very similar situation. I think I mentioned before that I had a client that just like, hey, you don't need to come by. We know each other, and I am just floored by the fact that people. I think business is going to change at least at the margins. I think people are still going to want to be in contact with each other, but I think it's going to change. I really do. So it's kind of interesting. So
Well, we're starting back with a client that we had prior to all this that we put on hold because of the COVID. And so June 15th, we're actually working outside in their home. And that'll be the first. And then we're moving them to Hoosier Village. So we're orchestrating that, and I'm putting together all the plans for safety and blah, all the stuff. Not that we have to go that extreme because it is an outside of the facility move. It's in the cottages. So we won't have to deal with anyone close by. We just stay within their house, basically. So
I don't know. I think we're all going to adjust. We're all going to do what's necessary and try to figure this thing out. I understand that there is politically, there may be some additional funding coming at both the personal level and the at least at the corporate level. I don't know how that's going to work out, politics being what it is, but when you hear the Fed whispering words like the effect of this thing may be through as far as 2021, I don't know what you do. I really don't know what you do.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Rhoda.
I would like to hear from Mike Chambers, perhaps, on the topic of this whole lawsuits against the insurance companies for business interruption insurance that's not being paid. I need to know more about that topic. My personal injury attorney is even interested in that because they're all getting in on the feeding. But I would like to know more about it. So perhaps Mike would agree to find out more and talk to us.
We'll see what we can do. Mike's responded a couple times, said he would try to make these things. I think that would be a really, really good topic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term force majeure. I had to deal with a lot in the coal business. We had a lot of coal mining issues. So I learned what that was. And most of the time, unless it is a specific line in your insurance policy, and it is very specific as to what it sounds crazy with force majeure, which means act of nature or act of God. You would think by default, a lot of things are covered, and you find out real quickly when you go make that claim, they're not. So it's kind of interesting. And pandemics are not covered.
Yeah, I can tell you the problem most people are having is most people's policies also require some sort of property damage in order for the business interruption insurance to kick in. And there actually is pandemic coverage that you can get. It's just that most people don't get it. So, but Lloyd's of London is paying out a substantial sum of money for people who did.
Right.
So the people that are covered are getting.
Hey, who joined us by phone? Just a second.
This is Tony.
By phone only.
This is Tony.
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Doing fine. But I have a speaker for you who's an attorney with Taft, who I've been working with on some of the insurance stuff, Bill Wagner. And yeah, he could talk about the force majeure. He can also talk about damage, and he can also talk about how you might be able to use surface concentrations by PCR of COVID-19 to show damage to your property.
Hey, can you get that information to John, and then John will send it out to me, and I'll make sure that we coordinate with that speaker so that they can do a pre-check and all that kind of stuff, so that we can get them on the schedule.
Yeah, I'll call Bill today and then get that all over to you.
Appreciate that, buddy.
Thanks, Tony.
No problem. So, it's an interesting world. We're gonna have to deal with it, and that's all we're gonna do. Unless you guys know somebody to punch, and I don't. This is what it's gonna look like. I did go out I was telling Rhoda. Rhoda's birthday was, I believe, yesterday, right, Rhoda? Yeah. And mine was the day before. So I did go out to a restaurant, and they had they had all the protective measures in place. They had the social distancing and the whole 9 yards. So it was an interesting experience. And, if you are in that group, you just have to protect yourself, be cautious. And I'm trying to live without fear, right? As much as possible. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know how it goes forward from here. So anybody else got anything about business? This sounds like a normal meeting. So just a quick story. I'm involved with schools a lot. And so we're doing all our scholarship interviews via these Zoom meetings or via these meetings. Once again, I'm just shocked. We contacted the kids and said, hey, we're going to be doing our interviews. Boom, they got right back with us and said, yeah, it's no problem. I'll be able to do them. You give me a date and a time. I am just profoundly, I got no words. It's amazing and how quickly we have adapted. That's the other thing, how quickly we adapted. A year ago, if we had all been sitting around saying, oh, by the by, we're going to be doing a business that matters and social distancing and all that, I don't think any of us would have bought that. I wouldn't. I'd be like, why we need this stuff? Well, we found out why we might need it. So it's really, really interesting. Go ahead, Marianne.
Our business is going to be hit radically. There's just no doubt about it. 50% of all the deaths are in nursing homes. And on top of it, my whole entire crew, for the most part, is an older crew. So most of our internal nursing home moves we will not do anymore. I turned down a couple of clients. They actually yelled at me and screamed. And I said, hey, listen, they said, well, you can go in, because I asked the facility, and they wanted me to move their parents out of a COVID facility. And I said, well, I'm head of the company, and to be honest, I'm not exposing my employees to this. So, because we're not going to be geared to that. We aren't. If we were younger, I probably would do it. If we didn't have health issues, I'd do it. But we're just not. We're not in that age group.
Rhoda, you had a comment?
I have two interesting observations about COVID. One is that I was on a networking meeting, Network After Work, and it was national. There were people from all over the country, and two of them were disabled. One was in bed and was able to participate, and the other was in a wheelchair leaning back and was able to participate, which is one wonderful aspect, that they were able to be part of this networking thing. Then my brother-in-law called for my birthday, and I asked him about how things were going in Israel. And he explained that the beaches opened up, but you're not allowed to sit on the beach. If you go to the beaches, to go in the ocean. So if you're there, you have to be either going into the ocean, in the ocean, or coming out and getting off the beach right away. So,
okay. I thought it was only the U.S. that was weird. Okay, I got you.
So,
go ahead, Tony.
I got
yes, sir.
I got an email. I got my email from Mitch Daniels up at Purdue, and they're planning on going back with all the students in the fall.
Yep,
and they put out an announcement. 85% of the population is 35 or under, and they're going to do things to protect those who are at risk and those who are older. So they're planning on actually, putting classes live. I've also talked to a colleague of mine who teaches at IB Tech and a couple others, and they're disappointed that we haven't looked to go back to having classes in terms of the younger population of individuals, because they're not able to teach stuff that they need to teach. So there's a mechanical engineering buddy of mine who says, I can't teach the lab stuff online. You just can't do it. So there's no way to do it.
Well, I can tell you that college students, having one and having a neighbor that I talked to, I talked to his kid, and the whole online learning thing, and these are kids that are very adept at technology. It's just not for them. I mean, they don't learn as well online, I can tell you that right now. Plus, they don't have the discipline at that age. They just don't.
Right. Nat,
so they need to go back to class.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, I've got one in my house, my grandson, and that discipline part is kind of interesting. Yeah. The other thing that I'm looking at is the lawsuits that are going to come at these colleges for if they didn't prorate or pay back a piece of their either tuition, room and board, etc. I mean, that's some real money at these Ivy Leagues and other places. Mm-hmm. A lot of the schools have said, yeah, no problem, but some of the schools are pushing back and saying, look, this is I'm sorry, this is part of life. And quite a few parents, I mean, 2/3 of the second semester, if you're paying $40,000 or $50,000 a year, I'd like my $12,000 back. So that'll be a real interesting situation there. I think it's going to work itself out. Some schools want to give kids credits, but some kids never go back. So I don't know how that's going to work out. That's kind of interesting. So we'll see how it goes. Hey, it is almost go ahead, Tony.
I would say, my son's taking classes over the summer. I mean, he's at IUPUI, but he's taking a class over the summer, so he's doing a lot of online stuff. But he immediately took the money that he got back from IUPUI and threw it into a summer class. And so he's actually making good use of what we got back for his fees associated with board.
But I'm glad your son is making good use. I think there's some kids that are not going to make good use. So that being said, it's about that time. I don't have any blue pads, but I wore a blue shirt just for you, John.
Thank you.
John Vandersall is our speaker, so take it away, big guy.
All right. Good morning again, everybody. And I'll just share some insights, thoughts, and observations as to what's taking place and happening in real estate here in Indianapolis, and as it's related to COVID. I'll start by sharing a story that took place yesterday. One of my clients, he is a pre-approved buyer, conventional buyer, so a strong buyer. He's looking in Fishers for a house in a specific, he has a child in elementary school. So they need to be in a specific elementary school area, right? So I set up a search 2 months ago, price point's $200,000, and all have been seen are condominiums for the past 2 months. He doesn't want that. Wants a house, wants a yard, right? So yesterday morning, 9 a.m., a new listing comes on the market. I see it. He sees it. He calls me at 9:02. John, I want to go see this house. So my always and now my response is, well, let me call the agent and see if it's still for sale. I called. The agent said yes. It just went on the market. It's still for sale. So we scheduled a 2 o'clock showing, and we arrived at 2 o'clock, and we're in the house about 15 minutes, and I received a notification that they accepted an offer. Yeah. So multiple offer situation, house sold in 5 hours, and my client wasn't even afforded the opportunity to make an offer. Yeah, that's a sign of the times, and all that is happening amongst pandemic and quarantine, right?
What's the relationship to the pandemic of what you just described? Good
question, Rhoda. The best answer, the first answer I come to, so we still are experiencing extremely low inventory. And I think it's even lower now because imagine if you were selling your home and living in your home, would you want, this is just my thoughts, would you want, unknown folks walking through your house? So I think people who had a plan of, I want to sell my house soon, maybe this year, I think they're waiting. Now, here's my little prediction, and this is what I shared with my client. I think those sellers who want to sell or need to sell, when they hear these stories of, oh, wow, homes are selling in 5 hours, they can get a little more comfortable with, okay, let's put a for sale sign in the front yard. It'll sell soon. We're not going to have hundreds of people through the house, maybe 10 people. So I don't know. So I think we'll start to see some more inventory as people get more either comfortable with COVID or realization that yes, homes are selling amongst thing that's happening.
Hey John. Let me give you a quick story because I went down to Chattanooga over the weekend and looked at 6 houses because my daughter's looking to purchase down in Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. And the one house, the occupant was still there and was over 70, and she said nobody comes in without a mask on. Yep. And so requirements like that I expect to be pretty typical. But there was actually another couple looking at one of the houses that we were at the same time. So it was actually pretty busy. But they only have 177 cases in the county that's Chattanooga. And even in the surrounding counties, it's not that high. Although, interestingly enough, they're publishing every single case and death in the surrounding counties in the local newspaper every day.
And that's great. And Tony, did you walk through the house with them?
Oh yeah, I went through all the houses just because I took an infrared camera and looked at some other stuff. And I know my daughter wants to try and get more of a fixer upper, but we looked at both types, already nicely well done, and then something that needed quite a bit of work.
So imagine that, right? The little bit of risk that seller took on by inviting an out-of-state individual to come tour their home, who you live in Central Indiana. Well, so I'll fast forward and tell you kind of what we're doing differently amongst COVID. There is more paperwork for the buyers and the sellers. Sellers, in addition to the listing agreement, they're signing a COVID one-pager, just kind of acknowledging what's happening. Before touring any homes, myself and the buyer will sign a one-pager, just a waiver, right, acknowledging COVID's out there, yada, yada, yada. No one's, the homeowner's not held responsible. Myself as a real estate agent, I'm not responsible. And yeah, so to paint more of a picture, yesterday's showing, my client brought his own mask. I wore a mask. I wore gloves, because I'm opening doorknobs and hitting a couple light switches. I wore and I gave my client shoe covers, disposable, all disposable. So, you know, we walked in, we still spent a good 30, 40 minutes inside that home. And, you know, you can imagine just you know, I don't remember all the times of how long it lives on a piece of cardboard or how long it lives on a piece of wood, right? But regardless, there were people in that house prior to us. There's people living and working from home in that house. So yeah, so we were all protected up, and you know, that's gonna continue for I don't know how long. Oh, and then I'll tell you, even with offer letters, or purchase agreements, I should say, there's also a COVID one pager that spells out it's an amendment. It coincides with the suggested closing date. If we say, hey, let's close end of June, there's some verbiage that says, yeah, we'll close end of June, but in case COVID happens or something else happens or the bank happens, we'll both parties agree that we'll move things around 10 days or so. So that's all spelled out also. So, well, I'll give you some more. I have some numbers here I want to share. So again, in these numbers, you guys might know, so I'm licensed in the entire state of Indiana, but my board, which is the Central Indiana Board, which I'm a member of, is only very, very central Indiana, 16 counties specifically, 16 counties. So these numbers are represented from that. So first, supply or inventory, I'm going to call it extremely low. 1.6 month of inventory, 1.5 month. A balanced market is 6 months of inventory. So it's still very much a seller's market. And what that 1.6 month means is if nobody else puts a for sale sign in their front yard, all the houses are gone in a month and a half. If no one else puts a sign in their front yard. If memory serves, this time last year, we were probably about 2 months of inventory. So we're 1.6 right now. Demand is high. You know, it's like I always say, people buy and sell for all kinds of reasons. Yesterday's buyer I told you about, he's in a rental and he wants to get out. I have a couple other buyers that are in rentals and they want to get out. I have out-of-state clients who are moving here for work or family, so they're searching, right? There's you know, there's death, family, and jobs, right? That'll move people. Let's see. So average day on market is 38 days. That's an average. That's an average across, you know, everything from your $50,000 house to your 2.5 million. Obviously, you've got your 5-hour sales, and then you've got stuff that takes a year. So, oh, and I'll tell you also. So, open houses. This has been interesting. I'm a big fan. Always have been. Always will be a fan of open houses. You know, those ceased. Late March, 1st of April, and it was really I don't know what everyone else did, but it was a directive of FC Tucker. We were not hosting open houses until 2 weeks ago. So I've held 2 open houses last week and the week before, but we started opening those in the Outer Belt and not Marion County. So I've actually, last 2 Sundays I've been up in Westfield. Although last weekend we, FC Tucker, opened up Marion County for open houses. So there too, you can imagine there's a waiver that every person who walks through an open house signs form. Again, just acknowledging COVID and not holding anybody responsible. I think an open house is almost, I'd say easier, I dare say safer for a participant, right? Because the lights are on. I'll I open the garage doors, I'll open the closets, and you know, it's just like you're walking through any retail shop, right? You don't need to touch anything. And so I instruct visitors to sign the waiver, don't touch anything. And I've been fortunate, well, just one party at a time, right? One couple or one family. I haven't had, and I don't think I would let more than 2 groups come through a house, depending on the size of the home, but also, yeah, maintaining 6 feet distance.
John, this is Keith. Hey,
Yep.
have you had any pushback from any of your buyers who say, look, I understand the world might be, I'm just tired of this. I don't want to boot up, suit up, etc. Any pushback yet?
Have I had a buyer who doesn't want to go out, you ask?
Yeah,
yes.
Who doesn't? Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, one in particular comes to mind. You know what? We haven't gone out yet. He got pre-approved, I don't know, three weeks ago. We haven't walked through a house yet. He's now comfortable because he's also eager and anxious. But yeah, there's some of that, buyers that are just kind of waiting for the air to clear or for them to get to their comfort level. What was I going to say about that also? So buyers waiting. Oh, so even yesterday's buyer, as I'm prepping him to suit up and sign my waiver, he asked me, he goes, do people buy the houses unseen? I said, yes, they do. They have, and they are now. And I kind of even offered to him that, listen, we could FaceTime. I could walk you through the house. We can do a tour that way, not unlike Marion and your client. And then there's also, if we did that, Keith, and you said, hey, I like that house, I want to make an offer, I'd ask you to sign another one-pager that's titled Sight Unseen, one-pager. Kind of, again, you just acknowledging that I'm making this offer on a house I haven't stepped foot in. You can always put in the additional comments, hey, here's my offer, but I do want to walk through the house on Saturday or something before it's in stone. What else about that? Oh, and so wish me luck too. I have a listing meeting coming soon in Sheridan, where the seller is of the upper age, right, where she's concerned of COVID, and I'm in conversation with her daughter. They're of the mindset that, hey, can you asking me, hey, John, can you tour our house on FaceTime and give us a suggested selling price? So wish me luck on that one. It'll be interesting.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Hey, John. Our agent down in Chattanooga has said that he's got another house that just came on. He said he's willing to go out and videotape his walkthrough so that we can get a look at it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And so I think you're going to see a lot more of that just because it's available and people want to see it.
Right.
John.
Yep.
Do you see with the downturn in the economy, do you think that there's going to be a glut of homes on the market in a year?
A year is hard to predict. I echo what Keith has heard, that we're not fixing this economy in 12 months. We're going to have some things to iron out still in 2021. I can answer half of that as others have predicted, and I can get in line with this. So April, again, back to Central Indiana, April home prices were selling 9.8%, just under 10% higher than they were last April. And we've seen double-digit increases for the past, we'll call it 12 months, double-digit increases, 12%, 11%. I think we're going to start seeing that slow to single-digit price increases. But your question, will there be a lot of inventory, you think, asking? Well, not quickly, but as hypothetically, I don't know what's going to happen as as we approach that 25% unemployment rate, and if people aren't paying their mortgages, yada yada yada. I'm trying not to think about that too much. I think there's still going to be demand. So another talking point, and I experienced this in Westfield actually last couple of weekends. Nice home, Estridge home, built in 2016, 3-bed, 2-bath with a basement. Nice home, beautiful home. It's in, I want to call it Harmony, is the neighborhood, 146 and Ditch. Mm-hmm. Nice home, move-in ready. But one thing it's missing is a home office. No home office. If they put some walls in the basement, maybe. Not only is it missing one home office, right? Maybe it's missing two home offices. Yeah. So so that's that. And from my chair, I get excited for the next round of buyers who right, we're all spending time at home. We're analyzing our walls and our space. And maybe they're sitting back thinking, let's get a home with a bigger home office, or let's get that sunroom house, right?
Or let's just get a home. We've got all those people stuck in apartments with no outdoor space.
Right.
No real home office. They're sitting in the common area of the apartment, because a lot of apartments just have a common area kind of. Right. So you might get additional buyers out there from apartment buildings. And I heard something interesting today on the news that Fort Wayne was the #2 hottest market in the nation right now for the last month. And West Lafayette was #8 as far as home buyers seeking a place. Yeah. That was just on the news this morning.
You said Fort Wayne?
Fort Wayne, believe it or not. Now, I don't know exactly what numbers they were using. It was something to do with people seeking home, number of people seeking homes, probably per capita maybe, I'm not sure, but it was the second hottest market in the nation.
Interesting.
John, on the news, I heard that the health authorities are now saying that it's very unlikely to get COVID-19 from touching anything. And so there's the importance of gloves and wiping down the doorknobs and all that is going to wane, because the vast majority of cases are contacted respiratory, from speaking and from, just breathing in somebody else's droplets. So it's going to be less important, all this stuff that you were describing, we're going ahead of time and opening the closet doors and wiping down. So
at least until they change their mind.
Yeah. Well, and I have to agree with him. It's been kind of my opinion all along that that's the case. And if you look at the number of flu cases that we still have and all the stuff we're doing, suggests that all this stuff is not really contact unless you're in a hospital and you're getting slobber all over somebody.
Okay. All the more reason maybe not to. Not the touch stuff. All right, let me think what else I wanted to share here. So, it's all that said, I still advise it's a great time to sell. There's high demand. I also strongly believe it's a great time to buy for some of the reasons we shared. And, regarding mortgage rates, I've heard multiple times, like, they're not going to go any lower. I mean, let's be real. They shouldn't go any lower.
Right.
Is it can't or shouldn't?
They possibly could, but they shouldn't.
Yeah, they shouldn't. I mean, so for a buyer, so again, 30-year fixed mortgage, 3.25%. That's just smart.
Giveaway.
That's giveaway.
That's giveaway.
Well, the only way they go lower is if the Fed actually does negative interest rates. They're standing pretty firm on the fact they won't.
Well, I'll do you one better than 3.25 on a 30. How about a 15-year mortgage at 2.5%?
Wow.
Yeah.
The last time it was down, I actually picked up a 15-year back in the 09 area where it really plummeted.
Yeah.
At 2.875, which I thought was just awesome.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But 2.5, that's low.
So I'll share more like COVID related. All right, so talked you through the open house and making offers and extra paperwork and wearing the masks. But then fast forward, you got to go to the closing table, and you got to go to the title office, and you meet the sellers or buyers, and there's a title rep, there's a mortgage guy or gal there. So maybe you've seen or heard some of these closing tables are literally moving outside to the parking lot. Or they're having what we call drive-through signings. Okay, sign the paperwork, right? The last office I was in at Stewart Title, Rhoda, we were at Stewart Title, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yes. So Stewart Title, what they've done with their closing rooms, closing tables, is they put up a plastic shield.
Yeah.
Just like you're seeing at the grocery stores now, and you know, like I like to say, like the gas stations have had for years, but
right.
They put up a plastic shield, and
those are bulletproof though.
Okay. And then they have a cutout on the lower portion of that plastic shield to slide paperwork back and forth, and you know they predict. It's working fine. People are comfortable, and they predict they'll just keep those shields up for an unknown period of time, right?
You cannot close with DocuSign now. So my son in Portland, Oregon, is closing jumbo mortgages with DocuSign for First Federal Bank, and they're keeping those. You know, for the first time, jumbos are going through easily.
Yeah.
Easily, and there's a big demand for them, and they're doing it.
Yeah, I've heard talks of that. I don't think we're there yet. What is approved is, get this, virtual or distance notary.
Yeah.
You know, I had an old school notary recently where I needed 2 witnesses, and I went
right.
in person. But yeah, the virtual notary that's a thing.
Yeah, I heard for a lot of legal documents, what they're doing is they're allowing you to do it virtually, like for an estate planning purposes, like wills, are allowing that to be done virtually as long as you have the witnesses on like a Zoom call where they can actually see it. But they're also expecting that once this lightens up, that you actually go get the document signed. So at some point, they're still expecting those documents to be signed personally and notarized personally. But they've kind of lifted the requirement just in case something happens during this time. They've temporarily lifted that requirement.
Right. Yeah. Well, so
hey John, on the other side of that, I've had a couple phone calls about putting UV germicidal lights into conference rooms and changing to separate and have separate HVAC systems for conference rooms in general.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that it isn't minimal contact that causes COVID. What it is you have to actually been exposed to COVID for 5 minutes. And that means like when you're sitting in a restaurant and the air is blowing across you with a person who is infected, and that is constantly happening for 45 minutes, then it's an exposure. So that makes a huge difference in how, you know, we kind of transmit this disease. But I don't think they really know. I think that the studies are finally starting to take effect where they're actually proving things and not making assumptions. And I think that the next 3 months we'll see a whole change in how we deal with this because of it. Another thing that they just came out with, and it was it has a Hebrewish name, Rhoda. It's and one of the best, the Bethel Bethel study program. Anyway, I can't remember the exact name of the place, but it's really well known throughout the world. And they feel that at this point, they aren't complete with their complete testing, but they feel at this point, if you've had COVID, you will not get it again, that it has its own immunities like measles.
Yeah, but they also reported that the sailors on one of those ships they're actually testing positive again.
Yeah, five sailors tested re-positive. I'm not so certain that that was actually true because they put them in quarantine for 14 days. They did 2 negative tests, but that's a short period of time. And those negative tests, depending on whether they took them in the nose, the mouth, or how they did them, have a detection limit. They may not have been able to pick it up. They just may have gone down and not gotten rid of it, and then it just resurfaced again.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Exactly right, Tony. That's what I was thinking too. And the other thing that I was thinking about that is that some of the initial tests can be wrong too, because it depends upon if they changed to that new test or if they kept the old test that they had, like there was like a 60% correct and 40% wrong. So they could have tested positive at one point, not had it, and then gotten it and tested positive again with a different type of test. That's why I think that some of this we're just jumping. We're just jumping because they're just trying to get things out there so fast they haven't gotten them complete, you know.
Well, yeah, the early testing was awful, especially the testing that was being done overseas was absolutely awful.
Let's get back to John.
Yeah, let's let John jump back in.
You're fine. I've I think 1.5 more minute. You know, just so housing related, COVID related, here's a prediction for you. If you're a home buyer, are you more comfortable buying an existing home that's been lived in recently, or do you want to go buy a new construction that no one's spent the night in yet? You know, albeit COVID. So you might see new home sales going up, which is tough because housing starts are down and housing permits are down. Hey, in closing, you know, is this the end of the tiny house movement? You know, spending more time at home. You want to stretch your legs, stretch your arms. You want that home office. I worry about the tiny house people.
So was there really ever a movement?
There's a fan club.
Okay.
Hey, one other question though, John. Do you know this UV that they're doing, where it sterilizes everything supposedly? Now, you know, I don't know if it's true or not, but the ones that they're using on the railroad stations and all that. Do you think that there's going to actually be a company that's going to be devised who will come in after the houses have sold and the people have moved out and will use the UV rays throughout the whole house to make sure it's sterilized so that to the next owner?
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, they're using some of that, but they're also doing just a general fogging. So I've had a couple contractors that I know of who've been asked to put together pricing to go out and fog, with a lot of disclaimers and waivers and stuff for that. And usually electrostatic. So there's different types of fogging. One is just a general gravity. You spray it out in a mist. Another one's electrostatic, where you actually put a charge onto the particles and they can get to the underside of things. You got to get 2.5 feet away, and then it will actually just float right underneath the desk, the table, the bed, and then stick to the underside and get everything from the underside as well. And that's been used for pesticides in hotels and the like, and that's where the biggest the downside is that Clorox, in an interesting little twist, Clorox owns the manufacturing of the number one electrostatic device, and it's for sale. You can buy them. You can actually get a hold of them. Problem is you can't get any product because the place that made the product for Clorox had too many COVID-19 cases and shut down for a month and a half.
And with that, talking about shutting down, I promised you guys we'd be pretty disciplined about this, because I know some of you have the rest of your day, and even some of us are starting to go back to work. Hey, appreciate you guys. John, good information to know. I'm glad houses are still selling. Yeah. Glad you guys could make it. We'll figure out something for next week. I don't know what it'll be. We've got a couple of people that we might be able to get in contact with. If not, we'll figure something out. As I said earlier, Tony, you weren't on the phone call. We'll continue to meet via this methodology for a while, because right now the restaurant that we're dealing with does not have a reopening plan. They will be contacting, Marion is communicating with them. So we'll keep this working, and see you guys all next week. John, go sell some houses. Claire, get some accounting done. You know, I don't know what the heck people are doing around here. Marianne, stay away. Marianne, you have got to give us a talk about these homes and the effect not only on your business, but just in general and people's perception of them now. That's going to be interesting to me. So with that,
I'll do that in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. Hey, one last thing. What was it? Oh my gosh, it was important. Oh, I wanted to ask all of you, do you have masks?
Yes.
Do you all have one? John, do you have them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only reason why I'm asking is I'm making them. So I was going to make you all one. So just wanted to make sure.
Well, if mine doesn't have a monogram of CBN on it,
hey,
I want
listen,
an upscale mask.
Yeah, listen, this is kind of, it's kept me very busy and in contact with people. You can't believe the number of people who stop by my house to get masks. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about that another time. I'll see you guys next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.